Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Sutarata Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Charges Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Sutarata Sri Srimad. Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Siva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shami Kunari Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gauda Premananda Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 3, text number 18. Ayajayad Dharma Sutam Ashvamedais Trivir Vibhu So Pi Kshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha Ayajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhu Sopikshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha Ayajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhu Sopikshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha Ayajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhu Sopikshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha Medai Sribir Vibhu Sopikshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishnam Anuvrataha Ayajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhu Sopikshmam Anujai Rakshan Reme Krishna Manuvrataha. Ladies. Yajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhuhu Sopikshmam Anujay Rakshan Reme Krishna Manuvrataha. Ayajaya Dharma Sutam Ashvamedai Sribir Vibhu Shopikshma Manujai Rakshan Reme Krishna Manuvrataha. Synonyms. Ayajaya, made to perform. Dharma Sutam, by the son of Dharma, Maharaj Yudhishthir. Ashvamedai, by horse sacrifices. Trivihi, three. Vibhu, the Supreme Lord. Saha, Maharaj Yudhishthir. Api, also. Shmam, the earth. Anujayi, assisted by his younger brothers. Rakshan, protecting. Reme, enjoyed. Krishnam, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Anuvrataha, constant follower. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord induced the son of Dharma to perform 3 horse sacrifices, and Maharaj Yudhishthir, constantly following Krishna, the personality of Godhead, protected and enjoyed the earth, assisted by his younger brothers. Purport. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshum Nitam Jain Tadvai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the ideal monarchical representative on the earth because he was a constant follower of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Okay. As stated in the Vedas, Ishopanishad, the Lord is the proprietor of the entire manifested cosmic creation, which presents a chance for the conditioned souls to revive their eternal relationship with the Lord and thus go back to Godhead, back home. The whole system of the material world is arranged with that program and plan. So here in Srila Prabhupada quotes, or he mentions the Ishopanishad, and that's that first verse in the Upanishad, Ishavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagat yam jagat tena tvaktena bunjita magrida kashyasviddanam. So in that particular verse in Ishopanishad, it says that everything, animate or inanimate, that is within the universe, throughout the whole universe, is controlled and owned by the Supreme Lord. And one should therefore accept only those things which are necessary for one's maintenance. They're only things that are necessary and for himself, and which are set aside as his quota. So Krishna gives everyone something, and he also gives a quota to each and every living entity. And the intelligent living entity does not accept anything other than, because knowing well that Krishna is the supreme controller and it belongs to him. So this is a very important verse in terms of Maharaj Yudhishthir, who is a sincere devotee of Lord Krishna, and by that he became very powerful in terms of his being able to rule the world along with his brothers. And when he was doing that, everything was very beautiful. We can see in this world everything is para or apara. Para means that it's the spiritual potency, the spirit soul. Apara is referring to the elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And these two comprise everything in the universe. Everything is either para or apara. And Krishna is the controller, the supreme controller of all those energies, because they emanate from him. Everything comes from Krishna, and he's the supreme controller. So everything in this universe is of two things: para or apara. And so this verse from the Ishopanishad is very important. Going on, the whole system of the material world is arranged with that program and plan. This reminded me of an example that I heard when I was a new devotee from many, many years ago. And that example was that if, like for instance, if myself, I wanted something created, and let's say a chest of drawers, and if I went to a person like a carpenter, and I asked that carpenter, will you please make this chest of drawers? Here's the plans, here's the material, like the glue, the hammer, the nails, everything that you need, the saw, to create this particular chest of drawers. And you give it to him, and you make a plan, okay, I'll pay you. So in the midst of creating this wonderful chest of drawers for me, the carpenter is actually really enjoying his work. He loves it. He said, wow, I'm really good. I'm expert. This is beautiful. I should get more for this, or I should just take it for myself and not give it to Svavasa. So we know that that's illegal. That's not appropriate. I'm the one that hired him. I gave him the money. I gave him the materials. And he used it to create this thing. So this particular verse, it portrays the mentality of the living entity in this material world. We're thinking that everything in this world is ours. And we don't really think in terms of quota. We just think in terms of what I want. And we don't really necessarily care sometimes who or what is in our way. We'll cheat, we'll lie, we'll steal. We'll do so many things, immoral activity. We'll do whatever it takes and for us to get what we want. So this is the mentality of a conditioned soul in this material world. They're thinking in those terms. And that example gives a little bit of an explanation of how and what we're doing and the ignorance that all of us are in this material world. And we're always thinking about ourselves and not thinking of Krishna. Whereas this verse says that those individuals who understand this, they understand that everything is Krishna's. That's the real mentality. And the Krishna conscious movement is meant for that principle, to help us understand that Krishna is everything. We're simply just minute little sparks. But here we're thinking that we're so great and that we have so much power. Anyway, we'll go on. Anyone who violates the plan is punished by the laws of nature, which is acting by the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhishthira was installed on the throne of the earth as a representative of the Lord. Okay, yes, as the representative of the Lord. So this is another position of who one is in this material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad yad achariti shestat tat tat evetarajsaya man kurute lokastad univartate. Krishna says that whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. Whatever standards he sets by his example, all the world pursues. So in time of King Yudhishthira, we see what his example was and what his standards were. He was actually a devotee, and he understood the principle. He actually understood the peace formula. Bhuktaram jakatapasam sarva lokamaheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatavamam samtim richati. He understood that all sacrifices and austerities should be performed for Krishna. He understood that Krishna was the well-wisher and benefactor of all living entities. And he also understood that Krishna controlled all the planets, including the demigods. And because he knew that, the pangs of material existence became nullified. This was Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was such a great soul. And he professed and preached and spoke and taught the principles of surrender to Krishna. And the world was a happy place to live in. And like in the translation, everyone was happy. We take the world today, a lot of us are not very happy for various reasons. So, in general, it's always requiring that there's a leader in society and that can teach the public, practical behavior. It's very important, just practical behavior. And that practical behavior is literally very simple. But the problem is that a leader, they can't teach anyone. Like, for instance, if you want to stop smoking, if the leader is smoking, how can he tell someone don't smoke? How is that possible? It's not possible. His preaching won't have any effect. So people go on smoking, he'll go on smoking. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should become properly trained before he begins teaching. That's a real acharya. That one is trained properly before teaching. Not that you just start teaching and you're not trained. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was trained by the Supreme Lord himself on how to properly lead. And we see in society today this is not going on. Very rarely can you see an acharya. I'm not going to say there's no acharya because I don't know, but we do know that Srila Prabhupada was the acharya. And before he came to America, he studied for many years, maybe 2-3 decades. He just studied and pored over the instructions of his spiritual master and read the scripture and studied and memorized. And then when he was ready, he made his trek to America to teach people like ourselves about the science of Krishna consciousness. There's another example that I remember many years ago, and that was when I was a new devotee. We would talk about eating too many sweets all the time. So I'm not sure where it came from, but the example is given that one time there was a mother who had a son, and the son was very addicted to eating sweets, couldn't give it up. And so she would try to do whatever she could within her power to convince the son, don't eat so many sweets. You'll get rotten teeth and you'll get sick and you could even die. So please stop. But he wouldn't stop. So she decided, well, let me go to a saintly person, a sadhu. If I go to a sadhu, he'll be able to train and teach the child the proper understanding of eating the sweets. So her son and herself, they went to a sadhu. And there the mother suggested, my dear sadhu, please speak to my son, train him, let him know the importance of not overeating sweets for his health benefit. And so the sadhu just contemplated for a couple of seconds and said, well, come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow, we'll make a decision. So, okay, fine. So she left, and next day she came at the same time to see the sadhu. And again she requested, my dear sadhu, could you please kindly speak to my son and tell him about the importance of controlling the tongue and not eating too many sweets. And then the sadhu said, sure, certainly. And this created a curiosity in the mind of the mother. And she said, well, that's really strange. We came yesterday, why didn't you just tell us yesterday? It was just so simple. Why didn't you just say, okay, no problem? Why did you have us come back? And then the sadhu said, well, yesterday I was attached to sweets and I ate sweets. But today I gave up eating sweets and I no longer am going to eat. Now I can teach your son about the importance of not eating sweets. So this is really the process that we as devotees, we have to teach people. It's very important. It's our mission. It's the Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, they're demanding that we do it. So without any doubt, we should. But we need to know properly what to teach and how to teach. And this is extremely important. If there's not that, there's chaos. In the Bhagavatam, it tells a story about King Vena, right? You know, King Vena, he was a demon. He did a proclamation in the center of the city saying no more yagyas, no more chanting, no more worshiping of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so everybody stopped. And the minute that proclamation was there, all the low-life demons became ecstatic. And the earth became overrun with, crime of all sorts. There was no limit to what was going on. And so the Brahmanas, finally, they had to just take action. They had to get rid of him because he's creating so much chaos. So you can see if there's not proper leadership, there's chaos. And it can go to extreme measures, like the Bhagavatam is speaking about. So we do need to approach those individuals which are very qualified. And in the Shastra, it gives us that qualification. Tadviti paripatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. And it says that inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls, this is what's important, the self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. This is a very important aspect, because they have seen the truth. And you see the truth through the eyes of Shastra, because the spiritual master, the guru, teaches Shastra. And the examples are from Shastra. So we as conditioned souls, we can actually develop this understanding through the Shastra and the instruction of the pure devotees, of course. So if that's not there, then we can see that there's so much chaos and unrest. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was the epitome of example of a person who was completely absorbed in the Shastra, the knowledge, and the teaching of Krishna consciousness. Exemplar. And so we see that in the material world, the living entities, all of us, we have this unlawful desire to become one with the Lord. We actually want to become the predominators, and in every respect. And of course, this is the root cause of material manifestation. Krishna wouldn't have to make this material world if it wasn't for us wanting to be Krishna or like Krishna. Otherwise, there's no reason for this world to be here. It's a waste of time. But it has to be here, and we're here because this is our mentality. We want to be the predominator. Even though the material energy, the external energy, is beating on us constantly, still we're thinking that we're the predominator. But that's wrong, because really we're just being captivated by the modes of material nature. Prakrite kriyamana nigunai karvani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The modes of material nature are beating on us every day and making us illusion, thinking that we're somebody powerful and very great and that everybody should bow down to us. I know I'm getting a little extreme, but just to make the point, there are people like that in this material world. So by the spell of this suffering, of the material nature, we're suffering. There's so much unfortunate people and calamities constantly going on in this world. There's calamities throughout, day after day, week after week. And so, really, Krishna is the predominator, and we're predominated. The external energy that Krishna controls us. So we're not anything fantastic. So that same energy is that Krishna is emanating by his will. Yes, by his will. He wants this Maya because we need to be trained and taught something very nicely. So I was thinking that this is what's going on in the world today. You just take a look at what's happening in Ukraine, and we have President Putin. You can see that his desire of predominating is extremely big. He wants to control in any capacity. His ahankar, his bodily attachment is so deep that in order to satisfy it, he'll kill tens of thousands of people if that's what it takes. If it takes him to kill 10,000 people, he'll do it. Because his ahankar, his bodily platform of life is so big. And then we have other demons, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. But in present day, we see the level of leadership. How can someone, I was hearing yesterday about what he's doing, and I was thinking, how can a moral leader, how can one be a moral leader and just drop bombs on innocent people, regardless of what the situation is? How can one possibly have that kind of anger and lust and greed in order to do something of this caliber? And this is the leadership of a country, of a powerful country like Russia. He's their leader. How can anybody in that country be peaceful when they have a leader of this capacity whose desires has no boundaries because he has soldiers, army, money, and other people that support him, that think like him? So you can see the difference of leadership. Whereas Maharaj Yudhishthira, everybody was happy. They were satisfied. There was abundance. They were actually enjoying the material world. And now how can one possibly enjoy the material world right now if you're in the Ukraine? Or for that matter, even Russia? What's the enjoyment? It's practically, it's illusory. But it's so powerful. So really, for us, we need to actually search out those individuals that are capable of giving us some relief. And of course, those individuals are Mahatmas. There's no other process. Mahatmas. Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakriti masritam bhajanti ananya manasa tatvat bhutadim avyayam. That these Mahatmas, these great souls, they're not deluded by this material energy. They're not deluded by it. They're under the protection of divine energy because they know the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the original and inexhaustible person. Because they're not illusion. They know that there's a predominator, and he's Krishna. And we surrender to Krishna and Krishna's will. And this is the difference between how we see society right now and what was happening with King Yudhishthira, and how powerful he was, and how happy everyone was. And we can see now, so many millions of people are literally very unhappy and scared and don't know what the future is. These kind of incidences only happen maybe once in a lifetime. I'm 70 years old. This is the first time I'm experiencing something of this caliber. So it's a once in a lifetime event. But you can see that it's unleashed so many different kinds of, little demons in different countries. It's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. So, those of us that are a little older, you can get some feedback from your mother and father, or you did anyway, about what happened in World War II and the atrocities that happened, just for the sake of what? Gathering some land, maybe getting some power and some money. So this is the illusion of this material world today. So we'll continue with the purport. The king is always expected to be the representative of the Lord. Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was the ideal monarch on this supreme principle. Both the king and the subjects were happy in the discharge of worldly duties, and thus protection of the citizens and enjoyment of natural life with full cooperation of material nature followed in the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira and his worthy descendants like Maharaj Parikshit. So it says here that the protection of citizens and enjoyment of natural life with full cooperation of material nature. The material nature cooperated with the residents at that particular time due to the leadership of King Yudhishthira. And that's pretty phenomenal in terms of what Kali Yuga is. In Kali Yuga, it's described praye nalya purisa sabhyam kalavas minyuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyupaditaha. In Kali Yuga, we're this iron age, we have short lives, first of all. We're saying we're going to live to 100, but no. There's so many people that live short lives. We're very quarrelsome. We're lazy. We're misguided. We're unlucky. And above all, we're always disturbed. This is how we're starting ourselves in this age of Kali Yuga. Very difficult. So unless we get good association, unless we become good association for someone, there's no relief. There's actually no relief. So we have to, those of us here, we have to become we have to dive into the nectar of Krishna consciousness and execute our service accordingly. And then we'll be happy. And if we're happy, then whoever comes in touch with us, they'll be happy. If we're miserable, whoever comes in contact with us will become miserable. It's a fact. The association is like that. So this system of parampara, it's been existent forever. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even encouraged that in this age of Kali Yuga, this age of hypocrisy, it's essential for us to search out the association of a Mahatma, a great soul. Extremely important. And by that association, we can make spiritual advancement. And we can make Kali Yuga a little bit better than what it is by that activity. So, yes, there's different principles of Krishna consciousness of a devotee. A devotee of Krishna, they accept everything favorable to Krishna conscious devotional service. They reject anything that's unfavorable. Yeah, we reject. We don't want this. This is Maya. We reject it. And the devotee is convinced that Krishna will give him protection. Yeah, we have to be convinced. We're chanting our japa. We have to be convinced that Krishna will protect us. It's very important for a devotee to understand that point. And the devotee should accept that the Supreme Krishna is the maintainer. He's the maintainer. He's our maintainer. We're not doing this because of some power that we have. Krishna is maintaining us in everything that we do because he's the supreme controller of the para and apara, regardless of what it is. He's the supreme control. And self-surrender means that we understand that our activities and desires are not independent. We have so many desires that come from the heart and from the mind. But these desires are not independent. The devotee doesn't think like that. They're thinking what Krishna wants on a daily basis. What Krishna wants, what do I have to do? And then from that, the devotee is actually very meek and very humble. Because he understands that they're serving the Supreme Lord. So these are the qualities of a devotee. And in that way, we can make a better life in this material world. Krishna is in the heart. Svavasa Prabhu. Krishna is in the heart. He knows who we are. He knows what our desires are and what we want to do. So we have to, and he knows how to deal with us. Apohan, yes, forgetfulness. So Krishna is in the heart. If you want to forget Krishna or devotional service, boom, no problem. Like Mr. Putin, he's forgotten about devotional service because he wanted to. And Krishna, through the agency of Maya, made it possible for him to forget. So we have to be very careful about Maya, because it is an agency through which the Supreme Lord works. And then that Maya will help you forget about devotional service and serving Krishna, chanting the holy name of Krishna. You'll forget. Or if you want to remember, then Krishna is there. And you can remember Krishna and serve Krishna, love Krishna, want to become a devotee. So, and then we can make it a better place. We can make this place, this world, a better place to live. And we can all be happy even in Krishna consciousness. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.